And welcome to My Sister's Keeper on PowerPlayRadioNetwork.com and PowerPlay TV. Excuse me. Be sure to check us out on PowerPlayRadioNetwork.com and view us on our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram page at My Sister's Keeper. I'm Danita.
I'm DeAndrea.
I'm Talonika.
And we are My Sister's Keeper.
SiSSTA'S.
Yes. Speak life into someone so they achieve success.
To tell you a little bit about who we are, if you don't know by now, we are four women who come together to dispel the myth that black women can't get along. We are three women today from different sororities who come from all walks of life, and our experiences have led us together to empower other women. We share the same foundational beliefs of what it means to truly be my sister's keeper.
So our focus is on the whole woman, restoring her from the inside and outside, which will restoring her from the inside, which will intensify the beauty on the outside. Girls compete with each other, but women empower one another.
So, just to let you guys know, we are an interactive show. We welcome your questions. We welcome comments from our listening and viewing audience. So tag a friend, tell a friend, tweet a friend to tune in, and welcome to My Sister's Keeper. And we'd like to give shout outs to the Sports Preacher Radio Show in his new sports studio home, as he airs every Monday night from 7 to 9 p.m. and he's live right now. We look forward to co-hosting with him in the future. We give a shout out to Mr. and Mrs. Willis for seeing ability in us and giving us this opportunity, and to our followers and members of our Four Sisters Only Facebook group. You can search for us under My Sister's Keeper. So remember, tag a friend, tell a friend, tweet a friend, and tune in now. So go ahead and grab the beverage of your choice. Sit back, relax while we talk to you about today's topic, which is following up with the Chronicles, Love Under New Management, Know Your Worth, and Love Thyself. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll get into our topic segment, To My Sister, where we'll discuss Love Under New Management, the Chronicles, Know Your Worth, Love Yourself. SiSSta'S.com and Power TV. Be sure to check us out on PowerPlayRadioNetwork.com and view us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. It's on our page, My Sister's Keeper, and I am Danita.
I'm DeAndrea.
I'm Tawanika.
And we are My Sister's Keeper. So, we're here today, and we're going to talk about, we're going to talk to our sisters and our followers, and we'll continue our discussion of the Chronicles of My Sister's Keeper entitled Love Under New Management. And this week, tonight, we're going to talk about Know Your Worth and Love Thyself. That's right, ladies and gents. It's time to talk about our worth and self-love. Know your worth and then add some tax. Love yourself unconditionally. When you know who you are, you won't accept any and everything. You won't accept people's views of you. You won't accept people's opinions of you. You won't downplay who God created you to be. You'll walk in confidence when you know your worth and know who you are and when you love yourself. Now, getting to that point takes a lot of work, takes a lot of self-awareness. It takes a lot of looking in the mirror and deciding to do something about knowing who you are and about accepting and embracing who you are. And when you're going through the process, you'll learn how to love you. But in knowing your worth and loving yourself, it doesn't come naturally for most of us. We often have to decide, and then we have to act on making it a reality in our life. So it's a process, and we have to work that process in order to get there. So, you know, what is worth? Worth, it signifies value, merit, or significance of a person or thing. And what is self-worth? It is the belief that your life has value and significance. So, how do you know your worth? How do you learn to love yourself? Let's talk about it. So, there's several things that we have to do, but some of those key things are lining up your self-image with God's image of who you are, who He created you to be. And then you have to learn how to accept what the Word says, what He says about you, and who you are. Then comes the process. You have to take time daily, almost daily, to encourage yourself. Some ways to be able to encourage yourself, you know, just look in the mirror, that self-talk, those I am statements, things of that nature. Accepting compliments, ladies. You know, if someone compliments you, being able to say thank you. I have grown in that area, but there have been times when a simple thank you would have been good, but, you know, I've downplayed it. Somebody might say, oh, I like those earrings. They're very interesting, or something. And then I said, what? Oh, these, you know, something's wrong with them. They're too heavy. They're too big. They're old. Yeah, stuff like that.
Oh, I got them for, he cost me $199.
Right.
Why do we always tell the prices when somebody asks you? Nobody asks you that. You're like, oh, these old things, they cost $5.
Right, it's very, sometimes it's difficult. There's many factors that play into why we can't readily accept a compliment. You know, maybe through our growing up, nobody ever complimented us. Maybe no one ever encouraged us. So when we hear it, or when we see it, or when we are a part of it and exposed to it, it's not easy for us to just be able to say thank you. And that comes part of the process of learning who you are, knowing what you're worth, and loving yourself to be able to be like, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, and then receiving it when it's done in genuine concern and care, because somebody really likes what you're wearing, or really wants to be an encouragement to you. Mm-hmm. So we have to learn how to be able to accept those compliments. Other things that we need to do is to release negativity and embrace positivity. Background often plays a part in the negative self-views. I was just a part of a workshop on Saturday, and we had a sharing session. And one of the young ladies was sharing about confidence and self-worth. One statement said to her about one outfit that she was wearing changed her whole outlook on what she was doing. She received a negative comment prior to receiving several positive comments or compliments, and so her reaction was like, I'm soaked in the negative. And so her reaction to it was, I'm going to get rid of all of these things and I'm going to shrink back into the background because I took in that one negative thing versus it before I even received what. Yes, and that's easy to do, and it's easy to get sucked into. And I know that's another process that we have to go through, learning how to embrace positivity, learning how to accept the positive things that happen in our life, and it's a daily process. You have to self-talk. You have to own who you are and who you are created to be, so that you are able to accept and embrace that positivity. Forgiveness is another thing that we have to learn in our process of knowing our worth and loving ourselves. We have to learn how to forgive, and we even have to learn how to receive the forgiveness. And not saying that you're going to forget things happened, things were said, or things were done, but in order to be truly free and in order to truly walk in the self-worth and in the self-love that we were created to walk in and to live in on a daily basis, we have to be open to the forgiveness. We have to be open to receiving it and taking it in.
We have a question here from Miss Alonda, and her question is, why is it hard to accept compliments? You were just speaking on that. And I know as she typed that, I was thinking a lot of times, you don't know if people are sincere. I know, that's the way it comes across to me sometimes. You don't know when people are genuine or sincere. Just, some people can give you compliments out of, like you said, that these were just $1.99. Some people, and your circle, the people that you're around, but some people are just not genuine, when complimenting. So it's like, then it's how do you receive it? Do I take it and, okay, thank you, or do I take it and be like, what she want, what she up to, or, So, I know that's not the only case, but what you say? But if all I have been told is what I am not and what I cannot be or do, then how do I learn how to love myself? Oh, this is something separate. But that's from Amanda as well.
Okay.
So,
well, I think sometimes when you, when people are giving it to you, it's kind of like this thing, our bodies are vessels, and everything that we put in from the day we were born, we gravitate to negative. If you notice, everything that we do, it's always, we've been taught, they did a study, if you put rice in a jar and you just write on the jar bad and good, that over time what you wrote on the jar turns bad. So I'm saying that to say that, a lot of things that we're automatically programmed to gravitate to something that is not good. Right. So if that's the case, when people are complimenting us, I think for me, sometimes when I hear them, it's okay. Well, first of all, I don't know the person, so I'm like, okay, well, thank you. I think I'm flattered. But we're taught also to express humility at some point. It's like we're humble at the wrong times. If somebody says, "Oh, you look beautiful today," you should say, "Oh, well, thank you." But sometimes we've seen women who say, "Well, I woke up like this," or "What did you expect?" Like I got it like that. So you don't want to come off as arrogant. So those are, so we dial back and we try to, I guess, put a top on our gratefulness to some extent, so that you wouldn't come off as if you were cocky or if you knew that you were. And so, some people say, "Oh, you're beautiful," but you already know that. And so then it becomes, "Well, thank you for reminding me." Mm-hmm. And so, it's like little things where I have to tell myself, but you know what, if I wake up every morning, I look at myself and say, "You know what, this is the best version of you today, and we're going to put this product out into the world." And so again, it goes back to what you said with the self-talk and being able to accept that. But again, I totally agree when you say when sometimes you don't know where it's coming from and how to receive it. But at the same time, if we get over and start saying thank you, because as women, we apologize. I don't know if we get caught up in saying, "Oh, I'm sorry," and it's just little. It's subtle. It's subtle. You was like, "Oh, did you? Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry." Or if someone says, "Oh, you're in the way," "I'm sorry." It's just, it comes out instead of you like, "Well, what are we apologizing about?" And so, therefore, again, I think it's some of the ways of how we were raised. Of a woman says this, a woman does this, a woman acts this way. When again, the men who are complimenting you are the men you don't want to compliment you sometimes. And so you're like, "This is good as it gets." They don't want to say thank you to anybody because you're like, "Well, what happened? Who?" No, but at the same time, again, they saw the beauty in you, and so face value, allow it to be just that.
I think part of the reason why it's so hard to accept compliments too is just the way you view yourself. If you're not viewing yourself in a positive light, if you're not viewing yourself as worthy of the compliments, then you're not necessarily able to receive them. And then another thing might be just not being used to receiving a compliment. Like if all you've ever heard is something negative, and then when you get around a different set of people, a different surrounding, and people are sincere, people notice things about you, and people notice, and people have been kind of maybe have a different background or a different outview, and they're genuinely complimenting you. You just don't know how to take it because you've been a product of your environment. So I think that's kind of what it is. So to answer the question, but if all you've been told is what I am not and what I cannot be or do, then how do you learn to love? How would I learn to love myself? Well, I mean, there's no one way of going about the process, but I think it comes with a shift in thinking, a change in your mindset. You have to start believing differently and thinking differently in order for a different outcome to happen. If you aren't personally believing that it can be different or thinking that it can be different, then you'll be stuck in what other people have told you.
So I guess let's piggyback on that, because how to learn to love yourself. One thing you have to understand, I think sometimes we always get caught up of I was treated like this. Because this happened, I act this way. Well, and that may very well be true, because you could be a product of your environment. You could be the direct result of something traumatic or catastrophic. However, the common denominator is you. We can always walk around with this woe is me mentality. When you start to sit back and actually analyze it, you have to really look at that. Every time I put myself in a situation with bad friends or bad relationships or bad jobs, that the common denominator is what are you choosing? How you're gravitating to really what who you are on the inside, and it becomes magnetic to sometimes those things that we don't want. So I think sometimes you look at how you allow people to treat you. And see, that's the problem, that sometimes we accept it. And we may accept it subtly, but we just may outright accept it. We have so many situations where our communities have gone bad and our relationships are not lasting because there are other people who are willing to accept the worst of us. And we're not trying to be better. See, that's the difference.
And you want to stay stuck. You get comfortable.
So complacency sits in, and so you're saying, "Oh, woe is me. Oh, I can't." They're complimenting me, but I don't know how to love myself. I don't know how to feel anyway. Again, change your circle, change your surroundings, because when you get, like you just said, when you get with people who give you that every day, it's going to feel funny, of course, because it's like a cup. If I have poison in a cup and I try to pour something good in it, what's going to come out? Poison. Because that's what the vessel is full of. So until you can release the poison and start putting the good in to where it becomes, that's what's coming out, then you're going to always be subjected to, until then you're going to be subjected to what you're hearing, which is, I don't think I'm worthy of it. I don't know my worth. I can't take a compliment. It's negative, negative stuff all around me. But the woe is me mentality, it has to stop, for all our listeners out there. It has to stop because, again, you are the common denominator. You are the definition of who you want to be. So the moment you say, I attract goodness, and you speak it, and that's one thing. We said speak life. You have to speak it into existence. You have to say what you want, and you have to be firm on when you see these things coming. You have to be willing to say, no, that's not what I want, and that's okay because you're going to attract something better.
And people, a lot of us women often attribute it to what I have. What I have on. Is my hair done? Is my hair this color? And it's just what's out here. It's just what we see, especially young ladies growing up. I mean, we had, people that we looked up to growing up, but now these young ladies, I feel for them. They're lost. I mean, and not took down any of the artists and these, the movie stars and all this, but look at what they have to look at now versus what we had to look up to when we were young. Right. And they see that as good. That's what they want. That makes them beautiful. If I don't look like this, then I'm not nothing. If my hair is not down to my butt, I'm nothing. If I can't have my nails done and all of this, then I'm nothing.
Right.
Unfortunately,
that's what they have to look up to. I was having a conversation with my 21-year-old, and she was like, it's going to be sad because, our old school is going to be all this ratchetness.
Yes.
Our music, our shows, everything about what's going to be old school for us is ratchet. She said, this is ridiculous. Even, she notices, what do we have that is going to be a positive thing that we can share with our children, our grandchildren.
Transcend, for generation.
Yes. So that is crazy.
But this is the common question. Why do we talk about worth. So in your mind, by definition, you said worth has a value. And so things that have value tend to appreciate over time versus depreciate. So then why do we monetize worth? So, because again, what you just said is if I have to feel a certain way, again, if a man is not buying me the clothes and stuff, that's my worth. No, that's not your worth. That's a monetary value that someone has placed over you to control how you interact with them or how you interact with others. Right. So at some point, you're pretty much going to have to look at if the worth is really, if it doesn't cost anything, so again, it's priceless. So if worth is priceless and we put a price on it, we're still confined to being defined by others. And that's why we lose our worth. That's why we lose our value, because we're too busy comparing ourselves to something else or feeling like I have to have these things to say that I'm beautiful. I have to have these things to say I'm intelligent. I have to have these things to receive a compliment the right way. I have to have these things to feel loved. And so the moment that you remove the monetary value, because we've lost values, we replace values for value.
With value.
Right.
Yeah.
So then why don't we look at who we are, strip it away, and I'll say this because I made this big change in my life, and so I've downsized. Yes, I've downsized, and I will say it feels great. You know why? Because at some point, I won't say I was keeping up with the Joneses because I can do it. And so I did it the way I wanted to do it, and I have no regrets with that. However, I started looking at what I was investing time-wise. You know, the more time I had to work, the more time I had to be away from all the things that I think I wanted, I was putting in more time and wasn't having that actual me time. And for the first time this weekend, I sat in my bed and I looked around and they said, well, why don't you go here? Let's go here. I said, no, I'm going to enjoy the me time in my space because I realized that the moment I downsized, I alleviated a lot of the noise.
Wow. That's wonderful.
So to know my worth is to know that my time is valued. You know, my time is priceless. And so to have the time with myself, to have the time with my family, you can't give me that anymore. You can't pay for that. You can't monetize that. So therefore, we have to look at knowing who you are, knowing yourself, and loving yourself.
That's awesome. And part of the process too is we need to learn from our mistakes. Not beat ourselves up because we made them, but hopefully to grow from them and to not repeat them in the process of knowing our worth and learning to love ourselves. We're human. We're going to make mistakes. We've made plenty of mistakes. We're going to continue to make mistakes because there's no perfect person that I know that's walking this earth. So as long as we're here and as long as we're on this earth, we'll make mistakes. But the growth comes in learning from the mistakes that we have made.
And learning from others' mistakes.
Oh, yes.
You know, why is it as women, we find it so hard to, if Deandra makes a mistake, you know, why is it so hard for me to say, I've been through that too. You know, how did you deal with it? You know, what is I assume it's a pride thing. You know, I'm not sure what that is, but why is it so hard for us to say, hey sister, can you help me out? You know, I'm trying to figure this out. I'm going through the same thing too. What avenues did you take? Or what can I do to improve? You know, if we say we're supposed to be sisters and this is my BFF or this is my whatever, why do we not feel comfortable with sitting down and talking to that sister and saying, hey, help me out?
So we're going to take a little break, and we want y'all to think about that because we'll pick back up with the discussion when we come back.
Welcome back. Welcome back to My Sister's Keeper radio show on Power Play Radio Network. Please join us on powerplayradionetwork.com and Power TV. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter page at My Sister's Keeper. So now we're going to turn the show over a little bit to you as the listener. Before we left, we were talking about learning from mistakes and knowing yourself and your worth, and just learning from mistakes. And what I was saying before we went to the break was that, you know, us as women, why is it so hard for us to connect and when we make mistakes, to share those mistakes and to share what we learned, or you know, how I changed this, or what avenue I took to change this or better myself. I know sometimes we don't feel comfortable, you know, with the I'm going through this, but I really don't feel comfortable with sharing with Andrea or Nita that I'm going through this. Yeah, I seen her go through it. I witnessed her go through it, and yeah, I kind of want to know what she did, but I don't want anybody else to know I'm going through it. You know, so that's kind of, I don't know, that's us as women, or
Pride, ego, embarrassment. Yeah, because if we watched our sister go through it, if we talked her through it, then we turn around. It's
like, here I am now doing the same thing.
And it can be embarrassing. It can be, you know, just a whole thing of, I don't want nobody to know because I have this image. I have this, you know, people see me as
having it all together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So those are.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with, you know, you're gonna feel it, but there's nothing wrong with sharing and, you know, letting someone else uplift you or share their knowledge or their downfalls with you.
I think it's hard at first to share it, just because of the things that we said, you know, the embarrassment, the pride, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
But it is also freeing, and it's liberating to be able to have somebody to talk to about it while you're going through, so you're not going through it alone. And so that you can get assistance and encouragement, so that you'll be able to get through it. A lot of times, you know, if you have a good support system and a good backing, the process is easier to go through than, you know, wallowing in the self and shrinking back and going through it alone. It might take even longer to go through it alone than to link up with somebody so that they can help walk you through that process.
Right. I think it goes back to the fear of being judged. You know, that's one of those things, because, you know, you don't know. You know, you want to say, I have this best friend, or I have this friend that you know, again, sometimes friends come to us in seasons, so we don't realize sometimes giving them too much allows them to turn around and use it as darts and use them as darts. And so, being, you know, I look at it as fear of being judged, and so I want to be careful about what I share and how I share it, because again, you know, we've been told don't allow your information on the inside of your house to go on the outside, because the friend who's saying, yeah, leave them, will be the same friend saying, yeah, I'm sleeping with them. Right. So, because they're looking at what you have and they're trying to, you know, demise, you know, what you think was the worst for you. But, you know, I think really going back to look at why don't we, you know, just share more often as sisters, as women. Again, it becomes sometimes, like I said, pride is competitive. You know, you don't want people to just really know how bad you have it until you have to let them know how bad you have it. Right. You know, I think we wait to the end instead of saying, hey, you know, I'm kind of just wondering. But again, it goes back to the judgment of your household. It's okay, well, she doesn't have it all together, or you can't help me, you're going through the same thing, or you're stupid for allowing, you know, you staying with them. That's crazy. You know, you have those friends that just shout out and not thinking about, you know, just being just there to be a listening ear. I know sometimes you have friends that are very opinionated, and sometimes when they speak, it's more like, I don't even think I was asking you what to do. I just wanted someone to talk to. So now, again, remember I told you, it goes back to, you have to tell people how to treat you. I think I've learned that so much, and I don't apologize anymore for not being perfect. I am perfect where I am right now because I'm always evolving. I'm always trying to do better. So again, my perfect imperfections are that allows me to see my blind self and to do better by who I was, do better than who I was yesterday. But I think when it comes down to how do I see your comment too. How do I reevaluate who I am? I have to love myself, and I don't apologize for it. I look at people and say, okay, this is how you have to talk to me. This is how you have to treat me. Because I think once you realize that, I'm saying it even at work, I'm saying it in church, I'm saying it that before I used to walk in, and some things I would look at people and I would feel intimidated by. Honestly, you kind of walk in, you always meet the people like, oh, they have it all together. And, they're sending out cards, and, the people on Facebook who have the perfect families who, they have it all together. And some of them actually have it together. And some of them actually, we're not throwing it out there. Some of you actually have it together. It's a beautiful thing because those are my goals. I want to strive to be that.
Right.
But there are some people who come out and just want to put on the facade because they're hurting underneath. And so you look at that and you say, okay, when am I going to see the real you? When are we going to start playing the games of putting up the walls of saying that we're not hurting? And so that's the thing of being my sister's keeper, is that when you hurt, I hurt. And so therefore, how do we make it better? How do I remind you in the process that you are better because of the process? I think sometimes we get caught up and we're looking at, fix the problem. I need my friends, or I need to, I'll just, like you said, I'll become an introvert. And I'll keep all my information to myself, and it festers away and it eats at you. Because again, if we go Bible, it says to seek counsel. So therefore, you have to realize that people were meant to be here in order to help you through things. But I look at one of the things that I think I heard it was that sometimes we always we want things to be fixed. How one of the questions was asked, well, how do you learn to love yourself? Well, you're asking somebody to fix a problem that you have the answer to. You know why you have the answer to it? Is because if you stop looking at and waiting for God or waiting for whatever you want to come in to fix the problem, you need to start asking them to fix your perspective. Stop asking to fix the problem instead of asking to fix the perspective. Because once the perspective changes, you're no longer looking at it from the eyes of, there's a problem. You're looking at it, there's a process. See, we always look at problems instead of looking at processes. That's why we can't heal on the inside, because we don't understand that eventually I'm getting there. It's a journey that I'm taking. So I have to learn to self-talk. I have to learn to take the time in 5 minutes to myself.
What am I going through? What do I need to learn from this? What do I need to absorb and pick up that's going to better me?
Right. And what do I need to do? Some of the steps that I need to take so that it can work out for me, so that I will be able to know how much I'm worth. I will be able to know how to love myself. There is a process that I have to go through, that I have to engage in, that I have to participate in order to be able to
own your ish.
Yes. Because once I own my ish, then I can learn how to know who I am. Then I can learn how to love who I am.
So Amanda says sometimes we don't share because we do not want to hear the truth.
That's true.
That is very true. And oftentimes we look for those who are in our amen corner. And that doesn't help you with your process, because you get those in your amen corner, they're just going to pump you up.
Right.
And it's going to pump you up to stay right there where you are.
Right, and agree with what you're doing, because sometimes people just don't want to see you improve. They don't want to see you grow, because if you grow, you might outgrow them.
Yes.
So that's kind of what, in that case, then, we need to form positive and supportive relationships. And then we need to plan for success. So in that process, these are things that we, again, have to do so that we are responsible for what we have going on and for what we want to do and how we want to do it, if we want to see change and growth in ourselves.
So release the untruths.
Yes.
We have to be able to accept the truth. however harsh it may be.
And so, that's it's not an easy process. But I think once you make up your mind and you are determined to move forward, then step by step and day by day, it does become more manageable. Not necessarily easier, but more manageable. And once you keep doing it, you are creating a habit. You are creating a change. And if you stick with the process, no matter how long it might take you, then you will see the results of it.
We talked about on the way here about our dysfunctions, and it's kind of what Yolanda is saying. We look at our dysfunction, and that dysfunction becomes organized dysfunction. It becomes normal dysfunction. It becomes our norm, and so you don't know anything. You don't know anything other than what you've always been exposed to. If you have your friends, and all your friends want to do is sit around and smoke weed, and they want to go out and gamble, then when somebody's telling you, "Hey, let's actually put your money into a system where you can trade," same process of gambling, but they don't see that, they're like, well, why would I want to do that? I'm fine where I am. This is what I want. This is what I need. And so, again, we're trying to elevate you into being able to be more productive in another area with the same skills that you have. Correct. And so, it's using upon the same skills. So,
but that's the key word, applying. Does that person want to apply themselves at, hey, this is the same thing, a little bit different. You'll get a greater return out of this than what you would out of that. Do they want to apply themselves to learning that, or do they want to stay right there where they are in the gambling? Again, complacent.
Right, and sometimes it's easier to stay where you are and not do anything different.
A lot of people
safe.
Are in that mind frame. This is what I've done. This is what I've been doing. This is all I know. You're like, this is where I grew up. This is all I know. This is what my mama did. This is what my dad. This is what my brothers did. This is all I know. Well, do you want to stay there?
Right, and it for me, I don't understand that whole mindset or that thinking, because I'm of the mindset that there's always something greater. There's always something more. There's always something that can be done differently to be able to improve where you are today. Mm-hmm. So it's hard for me to grasp that concept that people just want to stay stuck. I mean, you see it. I know people. I mean, I'm involved with just seeing it, but the thing it baffles me to think that people just don't want to do better, especially when there's so much opportunity. There's so much room for improvement and growth.
But again, when you're trapped, that's all you know. Mm-hmm. When the enemy has told you this is who you are, when the people around you resemble who you are, then that's as far as you can go.
Well, what do you say? I mean, and this is a question, I've thought about this too. I had this conversation with someone. What do you say to the person that says, or defends this situation? Well, this is all they know. For example, I had this conversation with someone. I was making a comment on how these particular group of people were acting. Mm-hmm. This is black folk. And I'm making a comment on how they act. Well, you can't make that come. You can't make that. You don't have what you have more than what they have. And well, it's not about what they have. Or maybe they grew up this way. And, maybe you had this and they didn't have that. So it's like, a particular culture because they live in this neighborhood. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's all they know and that's all they know to do. No, I'm not stuck in it. I don't believe that. I believe that I don't care what neighborhood you grew up in or where you what you have. You don't have to stay stuck in that. But the argument was, if that's the way they live and that's all they've ever seen and that's all they know, how do you expect them to act or how do you expect them to be? And not just women, just in general. What would you say to the person that thinks that way?
That's a good one because I mean you see it every day. You know people, you live it, and it all you can do is share with people what you know or what it might take or how things can be different. But at the end of the day, it's up to each individual person to even take in what you're telling them. And I think delivery of information, delivery of messages, those things are very important. I don't know, you have to sometimes find a way to relate and to disseminate the information so that it's understood. You have to sometimes figure out how to be on their level but not do what they do, but to be able to explain this is, there's something greater, there's something more, there's something different. But at the end of the day, the individual has to be open and receptive to be able to receive it. And it sometimes, not necessarily will come from the inside. There has to be opportunity. There has to be space. So that's where people who have the ability to do, are you open to being able to reach back and help? So a whole lot can go into that.
I kind of want to dissect what you just said, because if you have a person like that in your life, 9 times out of 10, they're trying to minimize who you are and the success that you've attained. See,
what to say that this person is not like you or didn't have what you had.
Because then it's like you're comparing as if I need to lower who I am, I need to change who I am because you fail to see it and you don't want to apply, you don't want to change it. So that's why I said sometimes, remember, we have to go back into knowing our value, that we're not going to accept being treated any less. Remember, I told you, it goes back to, are you going to accept what people are putting in front of you? Because what they'll do is, if you think about it, if you had 3 people in front of you and it was just you and they all said, oh, we're like this because my mama did, drugs, and my daddy had 5 kids, so I have to have 5 kids. And if you choose to involve yourself with people like that, then guess what you are accepting? You're accepting that this mentality is okay, that this is all right. And it just might be all right in that sense, but what we have to understand is once you pass the threshold of 30, you are no longer attached to your parents' issues. Right. Now it's just a choice. If you decide to still be a hustler 10 years later, 20 years later, and decide to get married, then guess what? You should be trying to elevate your family into something else, not where you were at this moment in life 10 years ago because of the situation. We all choose, we all make choices. But you know what? But in the end, I think it goes back to the minute you negotiate your self-worth is the moment you tell the universe that you don't deserve better. It says sometimes when we put it out in the atmosphere and we speak things into existence, that you have to change yourself, and if not, change the course of your friends. Mm-hmm. You have to change your partners, your spouses, even sometimes if you intend on growing, because again, if you're not, you're always going to be limited. It's like your body is growing in this confined space. So guess what? That means your body will still get taller, but your arms will be shortened, your legs will be shortened, because you put yourself in a box and your body is still trying to grow. So when it's time for you to step out, people are going to look at you and say, you look funny. You say, because you know what? I wanted to stay and pacify what was not ready for me, that was not made for me. I'm pacifying a box. And so the moment I remove myself from the box, you'll be able to see your limbs grow to the full length they're supposed to be. Your legs are supposed to grow. And guess what? People look at you and say, you know what? Oh, I'll never be able to see what you've been through, but then you'll know your story and you tell your story. So
we have a few comments here. Alonda says sometimes a person wants to change, but then there is judgment from others. Mm-hmm. Jasmine Davis has commented, that was the excuse before television and the internet. Now people have no excuse. You just make the decision to do better and want more out of life.
Because you have accessible resources.
Mm-hmm. And Sonia says it's hard in regards to making the change, and they have to be aware and open to change. If not, nothing can be done. Mm-hmm. And you do have to be open to it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can talk your head off all day about change and self-improvement and what I've done and how I can help you, but if you're not open, it
won't be received, because you have to be the person to receive it.
Mm-hmm. She said, just like you're aware of Jordans, you are aware of a college education. Amen to that.
And guess what? That's a gift of life, free will. So at the end of the day, we've all been given free will. So you cannot complain about what opportunities you didn't have. Now, yes, there are things that, again, there are barriers. Believe, I understand that there are barriers. And I'm not saying everybody was given the same level playing field, because we were not. However, in the sense of, as they say, did you make lemonade and did you make lemon bars out of the lemons that you were given?
Right.
No, you didn't. You wanted lemons, you sat on them, you squished them out, the juice is gone, and now you're still bitter, and you didn't even eat the lemon. So you got to figure out what it is that you want for yourself and make the best of it. So again, change your circles. I promise you, change your circles, you may change your life.
That's what Alonda said, change of environment.
I just read something this morning, I think, that had that, as you surround yourself with people who are higher than you, who are where you attain to be, you have no choice, if you really want that, to step your game up. Like in every area, you have to do something different, and you have to do way more than you were doing if you want to achieve change, if you want to grow, if you want to be a part of the greatness that you see in the people who are doing more and on higher levels than you are. But again, it goes back to you. How bad do you really want it? How much do you want to really change? And I get it. Environment plays a role in that. But I also feel like sometimes that's a crutch or an excuse. Because at the end of the day, everybody has a choice, and it goes back to the free will. And it goes back to, making a choice that will benefit and that will grow you.
To get what you never had, you have to do what you never done. So with that, I guess we'll take a break. And when we come back, we'll get back into our topic of Know Thyself, Love Thyself on Power Play Radio Network. You're watching My Sister's Keeper.
Welcome back to my Sisters Keeper radio show on PowerPlayRadioNetwork.com and PowerPlay TV. Be sure to check us out on PowerPlayRadioNetwork.com and view our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram pages at My Sisters Keeper. I'm Dania.
I'm D'Andrea.
I'm Tawanika.
And we are My Sisters Keeper. All right, right now we are going to continue our conversation about knowing your worth and loving yourself. We encourage you to interact with us by calling in. The call-in number is 972-730-4322. We would love to dialogue with you, hear your comments, answer any questions you may have. We'll continue talking. So, what does know your worth, love yourself mean to you, ladies?
I guess if I could tell my younger self what that actually meant, I would probably say, D'Andrea, love will come to you when you learn to love yourself first and foremost. So, taking the journey of trying to be something for people instead of realizing that I am enough for myself. And so with all the challenges of who I'm, I guess who I'm being groomed into, the journey that I've taken, I look back and say, well, thank you for one. But for two, it's how do I look at myself every day knowing the regret? We have regrets. And those things are okay because they shaped us. There are things, if I could look back right now and take back, I would do it a drop of a dime. But it wouldn't have given me as much as an impact on my life as it did. There are people that have come into my life. I'm like, oh, I wish I could just detach myself. I wish I would have never touched it. Would have never looked at it. Never said to it. Never looked at it. Oh man, I would have done it. And so, but when I look at what was I doing, and so I look at the journey as I had to really just take a moment of trying to figure out how did this come into play as to why did I feel a need to be in a relationship? Why did I have a need to be, to gravitate to a man so he can say, oh, I love you, you're beautiful. And so, why did I need that? And so, when I scaled it all the way back, I really looked at it, people say, when you don't have a relationship with your father, when you're not, these are the things that you should have saw in the beginning stages of life of how to be loved. But I looked at it to say that, my dad was there for the most part of my younger growing up. My dad took my stepdad adopted me, and so that's the dad that I know, and so that's who was prominent in my life. However, he chose his course along the way. And so I had to look at it, and I was so angry with me and all the time of, why did he leave me? Why did he make this choice? Why would you do something to take you away from your family? And I had to realize as time went on and life went on is that, he may not have done the best things, but he gave me the best of him. And so he the best that he could do, he gave me his best. Like he never, whatever he was doing out there in the streets, I still never received it. And he was always telling me how beautiful I am, how intelligent I am, how to make sure that you always go and get the best because you deserve it. So he still spoke those words into me, but I was so caught up on what he didn't do. That it stifled me. It stifled me in relationships. It stifled me in interacting with me in a certain way or wanting them because I wanted to dominate them because I felt like you wasn't worthy of being able to tell me something because my daddy chose to leave. So therefore, you're going to leave too. So it was really that walk and that journey of having that reflection time to say, okay, these things happen, but how do I take, again, releasing the negative, how do I take the positive out of, this man gave me the best of him? And would he want to see me in these situations? How would he want to interact with me? Because he would always say, but D'Andrea, your mouth is fly. You know what? And guess what in relationships? And that's what they said. Your mouth is fly. Okay, well, if I keep hearing it over and over, I have to receive it at some point. So what are they asking? Are they really telling me my mouth is fly? Or are they telling me that I don't always have to speak everything I want, everything I'm thinking? Yeah. See, you see what I'm saying? So sometimes you have to learn how to separate it. Knowing my worth was that it was teaching me that, you know what, you have it. You just have to scale back and understand your audience when you're speaking to your audience, and knowing that everybody doesn't have to have all of you at one time, because I wanted to be that powerhouse of saying, I'm here, you're going to receive me, I'm going to make sure I do everything right in my life so that I never have to go back and want anything from somebody else. But at the same time, I realize that I need people, because God has always shown me that I'm going to put you in a situation where you're going to need people. So how do you interact with people? And so those are things of, now I look at, if you wait for love, it will come. And so when you ask, what does it mean to me? It means waiting. It means not apologizing. It means, appreciating the fact that I took a journey, that I'm not perfect, but I am perfect. God, he said, you know what, when he created me, we by flesh we are, but guess what? I was perfect for him. And so what he created was enough to be put forward to say, you belong to me. And that's enough.
That is enough.
And that's enough.
So, is knowing your worth and loving yourself a selfish act? I don't think so.
But I think in a way you have to be to do that. There is some selfishness that's going to come into play, because you're going to have to say to yourself, I'm not worried about what you think, and I'm not worried about what you're doing right now. This right here is going to be about me. Not to say that I'm going to push anybody out of my life, but this right here is going to have to be about me. I cannot worry about what you're doing over here. I'm going to stay in my lane, and I'm going to do what I think is going to make me feel, so that I can have value, to add value to my life. If it helps you along the way, then that's fine. But this is for me. That I got to do what I need to do for me. And I know that that's something that I kind of struggle with at one point for a while. Kind of concerned what people thought. Because I would often get, like when I would go into new surroundings and meet with people, and after a while, after they feel comfortable enough, they would say, oh, we thought you was stuck up. Oh, we thought you were this. When you came in around, you was like, you were all that. Well, how am I supposed to come in there with my head down?
Oh, no.
Or am I supposed to, what am I supposed to do? I mean, I still get that sometimes. And it used to bother me to where I would scale back.
You gotta walk in there.
But now, I mean, it took me
your word.
Yeah. But it took me a while to say, okay, there is something about me that they're looking at, and they're taking, that they're noticing. And it's not necessarily a bad thing that I walk in the room with my head up, and I sit down, and I sit upright. And I'm going to sit there until I figure out where to step in the conversation or whatever is going on. But that's just me. That's where I've always been. At one point, like I said, I wanted to scale back and like, let me just kind of bring myself down and, kind of blend in with the other folks. But that's not me either.
I meant to fit in.
And it's not necessarily a bad thing. And just personally, things that I do now, I think a whole lot about me, because it's been a long time since I thought about me and what I like, what I want, how I want to do it. And I don't think it's selfish. I just think that now is the time to focus on building me up and doing what I enjoy, being who I was created to be. Not saying that I'm, disconnecting from, like you said, other people or from my surroundings or anything like that. But I know if I don't step up and treat myself well, then I can't expect it from anybody else.
Yeah.
I think Ananda said, she said, but it can become selfish when you are not willing to compromise within reason and have an open mind. And so, just again, with relationships, there has to be some type of compromise, but not minimizing who you are. Compromising is allowing someone so that we both come to the table and we agree on the next step of action. And we may not actually agree. We just agree on the next step that we're going to take. But but if you're looking at someone who's going to minimize who you are in order to get you to compromise, then it wasn't a win-win. So, Now you have to scale back and figure out who you are because you're just giving that little power away. But when you walk in, they look at I think for me, they look at my stature, they look at how I speak, how direct I am, and they say, oh, well, she's this or she's that, and they use choice words, or oh, we thought you were this, and so and I always kind of respond, I am that too. Because again, I can be whoever you want me to be because you don't know me. So whatever perception I give you, whatever inkling of doubt that you may have about me, you're going to take it and run with it anyways. So all I can do is remain who I am. I don't waver on it, but I'm very consistent in I want to be treated this way. We went into a restaurant and they walked into the restaurant and it was a group of us, and I think I went, I was left behind, and so forgive me for those of you I'm telling the story about, but it's about you. They came into the restaurant, they sat down, and I said, hey, I'll be there in a minute. When I came in, they were sitting, it was 4 people seated at the table. Well, it was 5 of us in the group. So I go and they look and I said, oh, well, where am I supposed to sit? And they were like, oh, we're going to put you a chair on the end. I was like, no, that's okay, because if you walk into a restaurant, the first thing you should ask for is 5 seated for 5 seats. So I made sure that I sat away from them on purpose, because I need you to understand that, again, I would never walk into a place and leave you isolated. I would never leave you out. And so in the same thinking that I have, sometimes you have to show people versus being mad about it. I wasn't mad. I just removed myself, sat by myself, because I'm okay, for one, with being by myself. But for two, I had to show them that when you're involved with me, that it is an us that's happening, and I will never leave you out, so don't ever leave me out and want to include me, oh, by the way. See, because the moment you start saying, oh, by the way, you start treating me, oh, by the way. So, matter of factly. So I needed people to understand at that moment that something that was so small, but it really could turn into something big. So in our interactions, you'll know that, oh, but you know what? We have to look out for her. We need to make sure she's included. We have to make sure, because again, it goes back to, people have to know that I'm worthy. And so if I don't tell you, you may think it's okay. So again, knowing your worth. What did you say, now that you know your worth? How do you love yourself? Every day, every second, every minute. I don't have to be conceited. I just have to be confident when I walk into a room. I have to be confident that the decisions I'm making will be, productive, that they are reflective of and inclusive of other people. And that's what I want people to know about me, that every time I make a decision, there are times that I want to be selfish, but I have to have a mindset that I want to include everyone. So I'm always thinking of how will it affect someone else.
Right. You I think there's a difference in being selfish and taking care of self. There's definitely a difference in that, because you can take care of yourself and treat yourself well without being selfish. I feel like, just me personally, I'm a very giving person. I'm an open person. I'm going to embrace you. I'm going to love on you. I'm going to treat you well and with respect. But at the same time, I'm going to do all those same things for myself and not feel like I shouldn't. Because if I'm giving it out and it's good enough for me to give out, it should be good enough for me to receive and for myself. So in that aspect, just being kind of an all-around person and giving what you expect to receive in return. And I don't think that's selfish at all, but I think that helps build on you being able to see yourself for who you are, to see the worth that is residing within you, and to be able to treat people well, so that in the process of knowing who you are and loving yourself, you are able to give that off and give that out to those you come in contact with.
I guess looking at being able to say, yes, I'm afraid. Sometimes I am afraid, but I'm brave. Sometimes I am imperfect and vulnerable, but that doesn't change the truth about that I'm worthy of being loved and belonging to some things, or to someone, or to a community. So, just being able to admit those things that make us feel like we're being judged or make us feel less
I think
than.
that's kind of the hard part. That yes, I'm afraid.
Vulnerability.
Yeah, that vulnerability and not wanting. I don't want to put myself out there. I don't want to expose myself.
And we
then what are they going to think?
right, and we do think about what other people think and what other people will have to say because I mean we're human.
And we
We're
say all
going
the
to.
time, I don't care what nobody else thinks. Well, you
No.
do.
It affects us. I mean, not to the point where we just gotta,
Stifled.
yeah, be stifled by what they think. But it's important that we get buy-in from other people, we get support, and we get encouragement from them. So those are the things I think that we think about when we're going to move forward in our progress with knowing who we are and loving who we are.
Yeah.
What she said.
So we have a comment from Alana and says, we must start by first stop, look in the mirror, and be honest about who we are, despite what people have said about us. And that's true. Because once we can own that, then we can start the process of loving ourselves. We can start the process of growing in our self-worth and all those good things.
So at this moment, I think we are going to take a brief break. And when we come back, we're going to get into a good read with my Sisters Keepers. Stay tuned on PowerPlayRadioNetwork.com. Told you we would give you a good read, and here's the read of the week. It's The Gifts of Imperfection by Brene Brown, and she is a New York Times best-selling author and professor. Brene Brown. We will recommend a book during each show to guide your growth as a woman. So, The Gifts of Imperfection, let go of who you think you're supposed to be and embrace who you are. She says, each day we face a barrage of images and messages from society and the media telling us who, what, and how we should be. We are led to believe that if we could only look perfect and lead perfect lives, we no longer feel inadequate. So most of us perform, please, and perfect, all the while thinking, what if I can't keep all of these balls in the air? Why isn't everyone else working harder and living up to my expectations? What will people think if I fail or give up? When can I stop proving myself? Well, The Gifts of Imperfection by Dr. Brene Brown, a leading expert on shame, authenticity, and belonging, shares what she's learned from a decade of research on the power of wholehearted living, a way of engaging with the world from a place of worthiness. In her 10 guideposts, Brown engages our minds, hearts, and spirit as she explores how we can cultivate the courage, compassion, and connection to wake up in the morning and think, no matter what gets done and how much is left undone, I am enough, and to go to bed at night thinking, yes, I am worthy of love and belonging. So go check that book out. It is a great read. She has multiple books on the wholehearted living, but The Gifts of Imperfection is tied into Know Thyself, Love Thyself. And that is a good read. Now let's dive back into our Love Under Management Chronicle, our last chronicle, entitled Know Your Worth, Love Thyself. So to my sister, we have some quotes that we're going to read. The first one is, maturity is learning to walk away from people and situations that threaten your peace of mind, self-respect, values, morals, or self-worth. Maturity is learning to walk away from people and situations that threaten your peace of mind, self-respect, values, morals, or self-worth. The second one is, when you learn how much you're worth, you'll stop giving people discounts. Know your worth, and then add tax. And the last one is, you owe yourself the love that you so freely give to other people.
And that is on point.
You owe yourself the love that you so freely give to other people. So, I guess to you, which one kind of resonates with you? And how does it tie back into knowing your worth and loving yourself?
Well, I just saw another one, if I might
Oh, she has one.
Goodness, I just lost it.
Wait,
Hold on.
Well, while you're
Yes.
finding the quote,
Let me find
you owe yourself the love that you so freely give to other people. It's been a long time coming for me to be able to really just enjoy life, to give myself all of the attention, all of the things that I've so freely given to everybody else over the last 20 years. And it wasn't until about 2 years ago that I just really started to recognize that, I'm worthy of getting this attention for, giving it to myself. The way I shower it out and have given it out. I never stopped giving it out to others, but I started really embracing it for myself and giving it to me, giving my, loving on me, taking time for me, embracing who I am and the things that I like to do and that I enjoy, so that I can live, a good life, a good quality of life, a good, enjoyable life. So that one is, what resonates with me. And knowing my worth, it took time to come back full circle. I've always been, kind of just independent kind of a person, unique and peculiar in some ways, and never really cared about what people thought. how they saw me, because I was still going to be Danita. I was still going to do what I like to do. I still was going to be who I wanted to be. I was going to wear what I wanted to wear. I was going to go where I wanted to go and do what I wanted to do, in the sense of it's because that's what I liked. Mm-hmm. That's what I enjoyed. I lost that along the way, you know, raising a family, being married, just whatever. And I've gotten back to that over the last couple of years, and I enjoy that. And so I think, when did I know my worth? I'm coming back into knowing who I was always created to be.
So I found it. I found the quote here, or the inspirational message. It says, "I am not interested in another's evaluation of me based on their own insecurities. I know my imperfections more clearly than anyone could ever, but I also know I must love myself despite them while working to become a better version of me."
That sums it right up.
And he said, "I'm not interested in another's devaluation based on their own insecurities."
Oh.
That's what caught my attention about that one.
Oh, you speak on that because, you know, sometimes we lead with, you know, again, that's probably another piece of the pie, is that we're operating on other people's insecurities. Mm-hmm. And so they deflect those onto us, and so and we take them. And we put them on, and we say, okay, well, they don't like when I do this, or they're telling me I shouldn't do this, but it's because they're scared. Fear. We were talking about that before the break. Fear. Mm-hmm. And you know, I've always said that, I've heard it many times, that people don't resist change; they resist being changed or being forced to change.
Right.
Because change is inevitable, you know, regardless of how it happens. We see from Hurricane Irma and Hurricane Harvey, people have to change. And so with the things that are happening, but when you're being forced to change, and you have people telling you, I have to be a certain way, or you have to act like this, because they're pretty much scared of doing it themselves. Mm-hmm. I think when I looked at selling my house, people, the first thing they were saying was, why would you do such a thing? Why would you sell your house? I wouldn't do it. And you know, and I went back and forth with it, so I have to say a lot of it was still me. But going back and forth, but when I was making that decision, it was still other people's thoughts. See, that's the scary thing about it, is that when I started asking for the help and people started giving it to me, a lot of decisions that I was still struggling with was still other people's thoughts. Well, you can do this, and I know I could, but I promise you, the moment that, now that I'm free from it, I look back and said, what was I thinking? Yeah, because I realized that if I got this before, I can get it again. I get it tenfold. Yes. See, I know the recipe. They don't. Mm-hmm. They're only looking at what they think I have, and the moment that I don't have, they think, she went through something, or something happens from. No, nothing happened. A decision happened. A choice to be better, to do better, to want better, to have my time back. Mm-hmm. You can't put a price on it. Right. And so now I look at it and I said, when I get my coins in my purse, in my what we call it, a pocketbook. When I get my coins in my pocketbook, see me strut. Because understand that it's more so that I have time along with that pocketbook. Right. you can't put a dollar amount on that. Right. So that was really good. I like that, the insecurities. Did Alonda talk to us? And we want to do a shout out. You know, we're missing. You see, we're three. We're missing our 1/4 of our SiSSTa'S.
Hey,
and so we want to shout out to Alonda.
Hi,
yes, we miss you. So we'll look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks back in that chair. But we thought she had maybe sent a shout out, but she didn't. We said as one gets older and gains more knowledge and wisdom, their self-worth should change and grow as well. And that much is true. So if you're not growing, again, you're not growing, you're probably complaining. You're probably the one that says, woe is me, and can't figure it out and get it right in time. So again, be sure to look at your circle and not allow people's insecurities to be put on to you, because we will take them and we won't even know that it is attached to ourselves. And again, ladies, be careful of the men or the women that you choose to involve yourselves with, because you understand that this is a soul thing. And so the moment you connect, remember, they attach themselves to you, and you want to know why you can't get out of whole soup. Watch the company you keep.
See, we didn't even dive in this much when it comes to relationships.
Yeah.
That's a totally different piece of it, I think.
It really is, because you are connected. You are, you're tied to them.
Mhm.
I mean, it is a soul tie, and it doesn't just naturally go away just because you stop talking to them or dealing with them. I mean, it is a thing that like keeps you in the bondage until you're ready to be free from it.
And when you're ready to be free from it, somebody will be sitting there asking, well, how do I get free from it? It's a purge. You have to cast that off of you. You have to cast that off of you, and you have to walk to your new. You don't turn back around and look back. And you say walk forward and walk fast. You walk forward and you walk fast, because the moment you look back and involve yourself, you then reattach yourself to what you just asked to be released from. So be mindful that when you see those outs, take it, because it was for your benefit. And again, stop listening to your friends who tell you that you have to stay in something. You have to stay there because you chose it. Yes, we all chose, but no one signed up for abuse, no one signed up for dysfunction, no one signed up for a mental breakdown. And so because of these things, again, you have to protect your heart. You have to guard who again, guard your heart. You have to be the gatekeeper. That's the word I was looking for. You have to be the gatekeeper of your emotions, of your mind, of the power. And one of those quotes, again, it said to, to give away? Maturity is learning to walk away from situations. Again, when you don't walk away from it, you give your power away. Once you give your power away, guess what? They can always play your card because they know exactly how to get you. That's why reality TV shows are so popular. For one, it's scripted, but for two, the moment you get caught up in the conversation is the moment you've given your power away. So again, learn to throw the shade and walk away.
That is okay. And it's okay to do that.
To walk away, that is okay. Tell the students every day, walk away. Let your pride down.
That's it. Don't get caught up and stay trapped, because it will try to keep you.
So we're down until almost 15 to the hour. We're going to take a brief break. As we go into break, we hope that you're thinking about. Well, before we go to break, we had one more thing. Our action plan.
Yes.
And so our action plan, we want to ensure that you not only listen for laughs, encouragement, information, or conviction. We want you to take action after each show for your personal growth. So on our Facebook page, My Sisters, SiSSTa'S, Keeper, we will post questions for your thoughts as well as ask questions for other sisters to respond. We are a community and no one person has all the answers, but our collective experiences can provide another woman the choice to not engage or simply connect with other women with similar experiences. Again, when you're going through something, you have to reach out to other people to guide you through, and again, be vulnerable. Be vulnerable with those that you trust yourself with.
Be open and receptive at the same time.
So, one more thing, the way we perceive our own self-worth has influence. I'm sorry, Alonda's tagging in. The way we perceive our own self-worth has influence on every aspect of our life. We must establish a good balance of understanding our true nature, self-worth, and personal value. When we do not know our own self-worth, then we tend to allow others' perception of us influence and define us. That is why it is important for us to take some time to appreciate and value ourselves. Value our time and evaluate the balance between time given away to others and time spent alone for ourselves. Think about the time you have given to others and take that time, invest in yourself, and give yourself your own stamp of approval. Celebrate you. So, when we return, we're going to play
Hot on the spot.
Hot on the Spot.
Hot on the spot.
Where, again, we're giving questions and we have to answer them based on what it is. Oh, and we're going to do Hot on the Spot online for you as well. So, again, well, stay tuned. You are listening to or watching My Sister's Keeper on PowerPlayRadioNetwork.com. Stay tuned.
on Power Play Radio. Please tune in and continue to follow us on powerplayradionetwork.com and on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Follow us on My Sister's Keeper. Remember that we are on every first and third Mondays from 7 to 9. So if you miss any of our shows, you can catch us on our Facebook page or tune in to Power TV on powerplayradio.net. powerplayradionetwork.com.
You okay with us?
So we're getting ready to do Hot on the Spot, and then we will close out for tonight. We thank you for joining us on tonight, and we thank you for following us and interacting with us. And we want to give a shout out to Mr. and Mrs. Willis for having us, and to the Sports Preacher Radio who is on simultaneously with us, and especially to all of our followers.
So then we have to get the box. And while she's doing that, our next show will be in October. October 2nd. Remember, October kicks off Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we also celebrate the survivorship of those that are still here with us and those that we've lost. And we just want to make sure we pay homage to the month of October. So we will have visitors on. We'll have guests on who will talk about breast cancer awareness, what to do, how to get checked, how to identify it, if you find it. And also, we're also going to take a deep look at domestic violence, all the way from relationships to bullying in school. So please stay tuned in October. It's going to be a good month where we really focus in on still knowing yourself, knowing your worth, and loving thyself, and actually taking care of our bodies and our minds with as we talk about breast cancer awareness and domestic violence. And so that will be October 2nd. We will be back here first and third Mondays. It's from 7 to 9 p.m. on powerplayradionetwork.com. Did you get the...
She took it. So,
Wow, we waited on a Hot on the Spot.
just remember that knowing yourself, getting to know yourself, it takes time, and it takes effort on your part. It takes you actually being a willing participant in that process of getting to know yourself. We can't expect someone else to do the work for us. We can't expect it just to happen overnight, go to bed and wake up and bam, I know who I am. It's a daily process. You're growing and learning in that process. You learn new things. As you age, most time with most people, you become more aware of who you are, what you can be, and just how capable you are. So just take time and be patient with yourself as you are in your process of learning who you are. And as the time goes on, remember to encourage yourself throughout the process and speak life into your life daily, to mesh out and to push out anything that was negative, and to reinforce all of the work that you're going to do in this process of knowing your worth and loving yourself. So.
And remember, our good read for the day was The Gift of Imperfections by Dr. Brene Brown. Okay, you can pick that up on Amazon.
Okay, we got our Hot on the Spot box. Who's going first?
I will get that over with. Who knows? You want to give her a question in the group?
No, everybody get one.
Oh Lord. What fashion trend do you just not get? Well, there's a whole lot of them in today's world and society. But well, the fashion trend that I really don't get is young men wearing women's clothing, like things that look like they are specifically for a female, and you're going to wear them, and you think that's cute and that's fashion. Skinny jeans, Skinny jeans and sagging. I don't understand that concept
rompers.
at all.
The rompers.
The male rompers,
Rompers.
adult males, past the age of, anybody who is a male past the age of 2 should not be in a romper, in my opinion.
No.
And just the fashions that are intended for women that some men have picked up and decided that they want to wear: dresses, skirts, skinny jeans.
And the hairstyles go along with it.
Yes.
Young jock.
Hey.
Wish we could pull that
He was
picture
doing a
up.
cultural crossover.
Oh, is that what it was?
I'm gonna post it on y'all's page.
Okay. What? I think
That's
I need
how
to
I
be found. Okay. If you could talk to the president, what would you talk about? Which president we talking about?
The president.
Oh, the president, the current president.
We forgot about him.
Oh. You know what? Oh, that's really good. Teach it. Well, one could say he loves himself too much, and that's why he starts there. But actually, honestly, to see where, if I could really talk to him, just for him to be reflective. We would talk about being reflective in things that we say and how it impacts others based off of the title and the position we've been given at the time. So I really want to understand that when he speaks, does he understand how impactful it is when he says some of the things that he says or reacts the way he reacts. So if we always say our children are watching, does he understand that our children are watching? And so that's what we would start there.
Impact and outcome.
Impact and outcome.
Okay.
She said 44. No.
Yeah.
We were not talking about 44, man.
Oh. How long does it take you to get ready in the morning? Anybody that knows me, I have to allot myself additional time where it would take. Yeah, like I have to get up like extra early because normally I don't iron, I don't the night before, I don't even look in the closet sometimes the night before. So I'm just, when I wake up, I'm just starting from the beginning trying to figure out what to wear. Am I wearing pants or what? So yeah, however long that whole process
What's the
takes.
baseline? You can base what most people do on the average.
I mean, most people
probably take what?
I don't know how long it take you. Do you do? You might do the same thing.
I do the 30 minutes and we out.
Oh no.
We played the night before, so it's 30
No.
minutes.
Sometimes I can manage to do that, but most times not. I'll start off trying to get ready. That sounds good. Hey, you should get ready tonight because tomorrow nothing in your closet is gonna change. Nobody's gonna go shopping and no fairy's gonna throw some new clothes in your closet in the morning. And I stack it.
You just staying in the closet looking like something is shining. It's the same stuff. It's
the same.
So how long I can't give you a time, but it takes me too long.
Over an
I know
hour?
that it does. That's knowing myself.
Ooh.
I know that about myself.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah. So
A lot of
Next
it.
question.
So 2 hours.
Yep, a long day.
Oh, Yolanda, you have a question you must answer, my dear.
okay.
Are you ready?
I'm gonna pull for you, Alonda.
Are you ready? Respond.
Okay.
Don't try to get off now.
Yeah.
I know, she on here.
Okay,
She just-
Alonda.
Alonda.
Where would you go if you were invisible, Alonda?
I'm for it, I mean.
Alonda.
Where would you go if you were invisible?
Did you hear us?
Our sister, Alonda, we're waiting on her to respond. The question again is, where would you go if you were invisible?
She said, okay. What?
Just like
Where would you go if you were invisible? What is your answer?
Tap dancing.
You leave her alone.
Are you gonna answer the question? You
Answer
laughing
the
Listen,
at
I
us?
guess since she's invisible today, she's already told us. Shade.
She
The
says,
Petty Award.
let me see. She's
It's
thinking
hot on the spot. You
Hot
have
on the
text
spot.
4 different responses.
Yeah.
And said, "What's going on?" Hot on the spot, my dear.
right.
Because you want to know what they saying.
Mm.
You want to know what they
Well,
do?
maybe he's even better if they're your frenemies.
That's that fly on the wall.
Because
type.
the frenemies know everything. And you don't know that they deep down hating on you in the back. Shade. Do we have a 4?
That's a group.
Oh, we have a group. Sister Pumpkin. It's only one in there.
I know. I'm trying to make it look good.
Super TV,
Do you have a song that reminds you of a what?
A person.
A person.
We cut it off.
Oh, I do. I have a song that reminds me of a person. I still like the song. It was my wedding song.
Oh.
Oh Lord,
It's-
I can't even think of the name of the song. That was my Jagged Edge.
When we get married,
No. It.
goodbye.
Oh Lord,
Walked
y'all.
out of heaven.
No, it was like the very first song when they were introduced.
It had to be my prom. Our prom.
Oh no, the first
The first
CD.
one. Oh,
Gotta be.
got it.
Yes,
Gotta be.
I still like that song.
Oh, that's
However,
sweet.
yeah, that was. But I still like the song. I like that. I like the words of the song.
I think mine is "My Heart Belongs to You." When I was in high school, we formed a group.
What was it?
TDT. TDT.
That was our
And it was "My Heart Belongs to You" by Jodeci, and we would be on the bus stop. And we got
on the bus stop?
no wait, yeah, on the bus stop. And then we got free McDonald's. People drove by. We were just
Y'all
singing.
singing group for real?
We were singing group, and so every time the song comes on, it was 3 of us. Oh, she was 2/3 of it. She and I 2/3 of it. I guess she was 1/3, but 2/3 of it is here, and then we're missing one. But
Was she the singer or she was just Michelle standing up there? And who the other person was really singing?
Yeah, we
yeah, we all sing.
Oh, that's good.
So "My Heart Belongs to You." That's my song.
My song is can I have 2? Okay, my song is it's a Music Soul Channel song. It's Just Friends. Girl, I know this might seem strange. That one.
Yeah.
You look confused, Mr. Willis.
Yeah.
Willis.
That's one of my favorites.
Oh, that's your boy?
Yeah,
Music
you
Soul
know that
Channel.
one.
No, Yolanda that do hers when we at.
Alonda, what's your song?
What's yours?
She should have already. You had time.
You had time to type in and interact. What is going on,
Amanda,
girl?
do you have a song that reminds you of a
Person.
person?
She doesn't.
Ribbon in the
Oh, she
sky.
said "Ribbon in the Sky."
Ribbon in the Sky.
Who is
That's
the
so
person?
sweet. Y'all have the sweet songs.
That's a good
That's
one. Well, as we wrap up, the time has come.
Keep on.
Oh, okay. Well, so what? She said "Ribbon in the
Do y'all
Sky."
have another song
We
that
have
reminds you of somebody? Who does it remind you of?
Yeah, we want to know.
That's what we want to know.
It is on.
We sipping while you spilling.
Yes.
If
Do
you
you-
like it, gonna pour that tea.
So who does this Ribbon in the Sky song remind you of?
None of your business.
Oh, sister.
Sister, I don't think that was very sisterly of you. You're supposed to share. We talked about all night sharing is caring. Great job.
Okay.
You're not going to share? All right then. All right.
She doesn't want it. But to our listeners out there, please, tell a friend, tweet a friend, tag a friend that we are here on first and third Mondays every night, bringing you the realness, the truths behind how do we self-improve, knowing your worth, loving yourself, owning your ish, And this is just the beginning. And so we just wanted to show you a little bit of who we are, giving you some of the things that we have experienced, sometimes with no filter, sometimes a little guarded. However, again, it's who it makes up the different personalities that we bring together. And so I'm honored to sit here with these ladies and to have these conversations. So again, we want to hear from you. We want to know, what do you want to hear? What do you want us to talk about? What conversations can we get into? We can go as deep as you like, or we can stay surface level. So always hit our page on Facebook. It's My Sister's Keeper, SiSSTA'S. Yes, Keeper. And you can join our group, or you can post on our radio page. Again, we are here to bring to you what needs to be said, and we want to uncover the untruths about what needs to be done. So, again, real life scenarios, real life situations, and we're here. And we have guests.
This is John Play Radio we call After Hours Questions, but back-to-back 2 shows. Real quick.
Oh, okay. So this is our after hour. Oh, our after hours. So we have the sports preacher here with us, plus one. And
that's right.
Have a seat. Have a seat. For those of you here, this is our extended version, so stay tuned. Those of you just tuning in, guess what? The show's not over. It's still going.
We are still going.
Yes, that's the sports preacher. Is that the sports preacher?
That's right. That's right.
That's the sports preacher.
What's up, Mama?
Hola.
What's up, Mama?
So here are our questions for tonight. Another said hola. Okay. Can you find love in church?
Y'all asking me this?
Yeah.
I ain't never seen 4 black women get quiet all at one time. I ain't never seen 4 black women get quiet like that all at one time. Yes, you can.
She said, answer the question to get up out of her seat.
Who said that?
Yolanda.
Well, listen, if you was here, then you wouldn't have to worry about it. You know, but you ain't present, nor are you accounted for. So
you can't find love in church?
Yeah, of course
You can find love in church.
You can find love you can find love in the frozen food section. I mean, come on, you can find love anywhere.
That's true.
You can find. Listen, you can. Yeah. I'm not proud of this, but I got a number at a funeral one time when I was a teenager. So yeah, you can find.
That's how.
I didn't say it was love. I just said I got it. It was. I saw an opportunity. I saw an opportunity, and I had to do about that. You know what I'm saying?
That opportunity.
Okay. So we don't want to know what happened after hours or the hours.
Nothing happened. Nothing happened. We had prayer and we read the Bible.
Yeah, right.
I was a teenager. I was a teenager.
Do y'all believe that?
Yeah, we do not believe. Can you find love?
Especially because you were a teenager.
Exactly. So no, the real question should be: do people go to church looking for love?
Ooh. Okay, y'all answer that.
Yes.
Some people do.
I have met people that actually that was their aim and their goal, their sole purpose for being in church.
What's to be a first lady? Be somebody's first lady. Somebody's. First lady. So therefore, our attire was less than girl. I was just about to say acceptable. You know, because we were trying to be seen.
Because no matter what I say, it ain't gonna land well. No matter what
that's
I say,
because we have men again. Their aim to please is to find the new person that was standing up, the visitor of church, to make sure that they acquaint themselves at the end of church and say, "I am here to be your whatever you need."
I'm here to assist.
There you go.
I'm here to assist you.
Oh yeah, in your Bible studies.
And to welcome you in.
The welcome, they're part of the welcoming community.
But but honestly, people are people no matter where you go. And just because you're at church don't mean you're dealing with righteous people. So you have your guard up, ladies, at all times.
Yeah, the church is a reflection of the world. So yeah,
it's just a gathering of people. That's all it is, really.
I like that, but people go with high expectations.
Yeah, and especially if you're going to a larger church, because that's another reason why people like flocking to larger assemblies, because they think they can find more men or find more women, and that's what keeps mess going oftentimes, because you think you first lady, but you fifth lady.
Ooh, in the cycle. Well, can I ask the question? Then why are the singles ministries
Oh man.
so
Oh man.
bad? People don't really, at least at my church, the single ministry is flounder.
Yeah. I think because y'all trying to get preach in trouble. I don't even drink. Pour me something. Okay. So I think, honestly, oftentimes, you got, in my opinion, you got two groups of singles. You got some who are single and happy being single. Then you got some who are unhappy being single, right? And it's hard to have a ministry where people have two different focuses. Some want to be married, so they view singles ministry as a way to get out the singles ministry. And then you got others who want to be single and they want to run through the singles ministry, if you know what I mean. And so, which is why we don't have a singles ministry at my church. We have a young adult ministry. But I stopped. I did not. And when people push and say we want to do a singles ministry, I would say no, because I know the horror stories. Pastors, ministers, we talk to each other, and I know like some real horror stories that thankfully have not never hit some of the congregation. So yeah, I just be careful. That's why I say have you guard up. Be careful.
So do you think the people that are doing these things, do you think they know their worth?
No.
And
but church is full of people who are hurting. That's why they come to church. It's hopefully to find healing. But you also hurt people. Right. So if I'm mad at women, right? If a woman just did me wrong, right? And I got this woman, this beautiful woman, she come to church, she's wholesome, she's all that, she's ready for something. I think I'm ready for it, but I'm not. I'm just want to get back. I want to get back into my ex. And so, but I'm going to use you to get back at my ex. You know what I'm saying? And so you got to be. Time is the only thing that's going to show you who a person really is. Yeah. And oftentimes, singles don't want to put in the time. Yes. They want to rush things, right? Because a lot of them are fed up being single. But the only thing worse than being lonely and single is being lonely and married.
Yeah. Yes, I can. Yes.
So.
So then you would recommend for one to know their worth, love thyself, own their edge, and then create a cycle of love under new management in order for them to get past and have a successful single ministry. Well said. Well said.
She does that. That's like, yeah.
All about topics.
Well said. Yeah.
She did that.
So then let's add a little extra, little caviar on top, and Greg Pond, if you don't mind. Can a married couple attend different churches?
I've seen it happen. I wouldn't recommend it, but I've seen it happen.
It happens.
Yeah, I've seen it happen. I'm old school, so I would like to see them decide on a church together. Okay. I believe in the male headship of a house, and so if they cannot come to a joint decision, then I would like to see her, submit to his to where he is getting taught and trained. But if he's not getting trained, and if he's not getting taught, then that's an issue. That's something but you work that out in premarital counseling. You don't wait till you get married to deal with that. You talk about that before you say I do. You even talk about that before you even buy a ring. Before you accept the ring.
So what happens when you start together and then you feel like you want to separate and go somewhere?
So you're saying the wife or the husband? Who wants to leave?
Well, let's talk about wives leaving and doing something different.
Okay, and I would say in my opinion, in that instance, that she would be out of order, because if she wants, okay, so I'm married to a very strong black woman, very strong. She's an attorney, very strong will, and that's one thing I love about her, right? And about my daughters, I want them to be strong. I don't like weak women. I don't have weak women around me, not in my inner circle anywhere, hopefully, and so. But at the same time, if you're expecting, if God is holding me responsible for the salvation of my household, so at some point, I've got to have people who are following my lead.
Yes.
So I cannot have all the responsibility and no one, and we're constantly fighting about these issues. So I tell my wife when we deal with this, because we disagree, pray for me. Pray for me. And if I'm wrong, trust me, God will get my attention. Yeah. And there's been several times I was wrong about something, and so we end up doing things the way way she wants to do it. But I'm not one of these heavy-handed guys, my way or the highway, anything like that. But I do want my family worshiping together. But if the situation is, I've worked for a church, and the situation ever gets toxic, Then I will tell them, I want y'all to go somewhere else. I can't because this is where I work, but I want y'all to go somewhere else. Yeah. But if she get mad at another sister in the church and I just ain't going. Well, I'm just like, babe, come on now. I mean, are we showing the love of Christ? So go ahead.
Oh no, I was saying she mentioned leaving, and say you went to this church following, your leader, your husband, and
he stopped going.
He wasn't active in the church, but you went to join this church because of him, and then he wasn't active. And so, say you stayed or whatever, then you were like, okay, I'm not being filled here, then I'm gonna leave.
Is he still there, or what is he doing?
Still a member.
But he don't watch NFL. Then at that point, then where is he leading you?
Nowhere.
How are you doing?
And I'm not saying that those marriages cannot work, but I'm saying that should have been worked out before you said I do. And time will show you, because you always be somebody's representative before you meet them.
But see, it was okay then. Right. It worked out fine then in the beginning. But over time, it's like, okay, well, then I became more of the leader. God, I'm speaking. Hey,
yeah, I got you.
You know what I'm saying? I became more of the leader. I became more of the one, the spiritual. Okay, we're going to church for the kids and all this.
I've had women at church. I never knew they were married until they died, and the husband showed up at the funeral. Wow. And these women, some of them raised me. Have raised me at church. I never knew they were married until a death in the family or something like that, and then the husband showed up and nobody know who he is. I don't want that for my daughters. Because my thing is, you want someone who can lead. It's hard. Being married is hard. Leading a family is hard. You want somebody who's walking hand in hand with God and making sure that you're doing the best you can. So
this is the last one.
Because if you're not growing, you're complaining.
No, if you're not growing, you're digressing.
So how do we get men back in the church?
See, listen, that's a long conversation. I think what needs to happen is we need to start focusing. We need to stop celebrating effeminate men inside our churches. We do that.
Did we say feminine or family?
Effeminate men. I'm missing my wife. We listen to when we're in the car. She likes to listen to Kirk Franklin's praise. And you got the new trend in gospel music is for the guy to whisper when he's talking. Yeah, don't you really love the Lord? Don't you love it? I said, that ain't attracting grown men. A grown man gonna hear that and be like, what is this man? Get this out. You asked me a question. This after hours. Preacher ain't been drinking. I promise I ain't been drinking. But I'm just telling you the truth. The honest God truth is, the image of the Christian, of the black Christian man, is one who wears a real slim, too tight suit. With a big old fat bow tie on, something like that.
With the glasses.
With the glasses that are not prescription. And they're saying, yes, preacher, and all that other kind of stuff. Preach, doc, and all that. And that irritates me, because what happens is, the grown man don't respond to that. So the one time you do get him to come to church, he see that,
he ain't coming back.
And he ain't just come back to that church. He ain't going back to no church.
No church.
Because that's his idea of what.
See, I told you.
Yeah, that's his idea of what church is.
There you go.
So what is holy matrimony, and do people marry in this matter?
Explain the question. I don't understand the question.
What is holy matrimony?
What is holy matrimony? It's just when you take your vows before God. Yeah.
And do people marry in this matter?
Okay, so so when you get married, it don't matter if you get married for a judge, you get married for your preacher, you married. Period, point blank. The Bible says two shall become one flesh. You guys are married. You guys are there together, right? You're supposed to be walking through life together. I think a lot of people get married for wrong reasons. And so because I had a discussion with a really good friend of mine who's divorced, and she's dating a guy that's divorced, and they're scared to get married because, I don't want to lead him to sin. I said, no, because the Bible talks about, if somebody's divorced and you shouldn't remarry. But people mistake, and I don't want to people misquote that scripture. That's not the point that Jesus was making in that. You got to keep reading to understand the point he was making. But what I explained to her was, I said, the sin of the divorce is not the signing of a divorce decree. It was asking God, is this going to work in the beginning? Oftentimes we marry wrong. Number one. Number two, God don't want nobody putting up with no mess. Period, point blank. If you are that unhappy where you are drowning your sorrows every night, I'm just being honest with you. God has forgiveness in place for a reason. 1 John 1:9, ask him to forgive you. kick them out, or you move, keep rolling. That light, you got one dash. We talked about the dash. That's her company, and so you guys need to have on your show. But you got one dash. You got one life. There is, if ladies, if you getting beat upside your head, you getting talked too crazy, he controlling the money. You can't get your nails done, but he walk around with New Jordans. Something wrong with that picture. And so my thing is. Yeah, so my thing is straight up, yes, there is holy matrimony, but it does not mean that you have to be locked into some mess. There's some stuff me and my wife have talked about. And we've already said, listen, if this happened, we sign the papers and we good with that. You know what I'm saying? We're good with that. And so I'm a little bit different than other ministers. I've actually told some couples, I think y'all need to split, because if you stay together, one of y'all gonna kill each other. I mean, and so I just It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to stay in something that has no hope. But I do want couples to exhaust every means possible to make it work. Right. But two have to work. If one is working, it won't work.
Yes.
Yeah. So oftentimes we get married out of loneliness, out of frustration, out of our hurt, and we didn't give it enough time. But then also people can change on you. You didn't know he was gonna fall in the crack. You know, he had a job when you met him. You know what I'm saying? He was upstanding. He was going to church. He was the whole nine. And then something happened and it changed him. Yep. So old school preachers say, stay in that with them. I say that's the dumbest thing I ever heard in my life. You know what I'm saying? That's my opinion. I'm not speaking on behalf of Truly Missionary Baptist Church. I'm speaking on behalf of Reverend Donald Parrish Jr. That's just my straight up and down opinion. If you know what miserable is versus not liking something. Right. You know, if you're miserable and you think about taking yourself out or taking him out,
right. It's time
to go. It's time to go. It's time to go. So that's what I think. That's my 2 cents.
So as you can see, we have the sports preacher.
That's right. Number one, baby. Let's go. Let's get it.
He meant on the first, second, and third, fourth, maybe Monday. So that's exactly what he meant. Number one. He meant the only one, number one man on the show. As we close out.
Remember, you would be here if it wasn't for me, number one. And it takes 4 of y'all to try to come here.
But to our listeners, we give our shout outs, we pay our respects. But he can't come in and dominate. So, to my sisters, sometimes you have to forget how you feel and remember what you deserve. I'm right here. You are my keeper and know that I'm yours first. So straighten your crown and never be afraid to stand out. Inhale confidence, exhale doubt. Until next time, queens, we are my sister's keeper. SiSSTA'S. Yes. Until next time.
And if your boyfriend say that, something wrong. He should, the grown man should not say
yeah. Until next time, queens.
I love it. The song is for me.
Say it, Daniel.
And if you like for him to say that, he can.
What am I saying? The song? Oh, I gotta be jagged edge. I gotta be jagged edge.
October 2nd. I'm sorry.
October 2nd.
7
o'clock.
Get y'all pictures and get y'all.